The majority of luxury home purchases here in Fort Lauderdale are done by those that don't live here. And the buyers that do this well all follow a process. And the buyers that struggle are usually the ones that skip a step or two along the way. In this video, we're going to go over the full process for buying a luxury home in Fort Lauderdale from out of state, how to research remotely without wasting time, how to evaluate neighborhoods before your first visit, how to structure your scouting trip so it's actually productive, and how the offer and closing process works in a market where you can't drive by the property on a Tuesday afternoon. My name is Steve McAleer. I've been selling real estate in Fort Lauderdale for 20 years, completed over 600 transactions in this market, and I work with The Agency, one of the premier luxury brokerages in the country. A significant share of my clients over the years have been out-of-state buyers from New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Chicago, Cleveland, and beyond, who navigated this purchase remotely before making the move. The ones who had the best experiences consistently followed a similar process. This video is that process, laid out as clearly as I can make it. The remote research phase is usually where buyers set themselves up for success or end up wasting their time. The goal of remote online research is not just to find your home. It's to find an area that suits your lifestyle and in a price that's right for you. The first thing to establish remotely is your honest lifestyle priority. And I mean the actual daily life you want, not the aspirational version. Waterfront and boating as a daily reality versus a weekend when the weather is right aspiration. Walkable urban proximity versus quiet residential. Single family with outdoor space versus lock and leave condo. This single question, answered honestly, eliminates more geography faster than any amount of Zillow browsing. A buyer who genuinely wants to use a boat 3 to 4 times a week has a completely different neighborhood set than a buyer for whom a boat is nice to have. Once the lifestyle priority is clear, the remote research task is understanding the neighborhood hierarchy. Not which neighborhood is best in the abstract, but which neighborhood serves your specific lifestyle and budget. This channel has dedicated videos to each of the major Fort Lauderdale luxury neighborhoods. Watch them. The canal hierarchy in Las Olas Isles, the private beach reality in Harbor Beach, the river character in Rio Vista, the value proposition in Pompano Beach. All of this is knowable remotely before your first trip, and all of it will make your scouting visit dramatically more productive. The remote research phase is also when you establish your financing, not when you find a property you like, before you start looking seriously. Jumbo loan pre-approval for purchases above $1 million requires documentation that takes time to assemble and underwrite. If you're a cash buyer, organize your proof of funds in a form that can be submitted quickly when you need it. The Fort Lauderdale luxury market in the best neighborhoods moves faster than most out-of-state buyers expect based on their national market assumptions. And being unorganized on financing at the moment you want to make an offer is one of the most preventable mistakes in this process. The most consequential decision for an out-of-state buyer is to not engage with a local agent. The agent you need for a Fort Lauderdale luxury purchase from out of state is not a generalist who covers all of Broward County across all price points. It's someone who's spent years specifically in the luxury waterfront neighborhoods you're targeting, who has transaction history in Las Olas Isles or Harbor Beach, or whichever neighborhoods have risen to the top of your research, and who can give you hyperlocal intelligence that public search cannot provide. The questions worth asking any agent you're evaluating: how many transactions have you closed in this specific neighborhood in the last 24 months? What off-market inventory do you currently know about that's not on the MLS? Can you tell me which lots in Las Olas Isles have the better canal positions and why? If the answers to these questions are vague, the agent doesn't have the hyperlocal knowledge that the purchase requires. The agent relationship for an out-of-state buyer also requires more proactive communication than a local purchase does. You need an agent who will send you the video walkthrough before you fly down, who will give you their honest read of a property's value relative to ask before you get emotionally invested in it, and who will tell you when something about a property is wrong, not just what you want to hear. The agent's job in an out-of-state purchase is to be your eyes and ears in a market you can't monitor in person. That requires honesty and initiative, not just responsiveness. The most common mistake out-of-state buyers make is getting to their first showing without understanding the neighborhood. The neighborhood evaluation that should happen before your trip covers 5 dimensions: the waterfront type, ocean versus intracoastal frontage versus interior canal, and which one matches your boating boating lifestyle and your vessel, if you have one, the proximity to daily amenities, how close does the neighborhood put you to restaurants, the beach access, and the lifestyle infrastructure you'll actually use, not just appreciate in concept. The commute reality if you're maintaining any business or family obligations in a specific part of Broward County, the school situation if you have children who will be enrolled locally, and the community character, whether the neighborhood's social fabric matches the life you're trying to build. Google Street View is underused by out-of-state buyers and is more useful than most people give it credit for. Walking the streets of Las Olas Isles and Rio Vista virtually, understanding the tree canopy, the lot configurations, the distance from the street to the water, the character of the adjacent properties. All of this is available remotely, and all of it will sharpen your expectations before you arrive. Video content is your most valuable remote research tool, and you should consume it deliberately. This channel exists to give you the neighborhood-level intelligence that listing photos and property descriptions can't provide. Watch the neighborhood deep dive videos for the areas that have risen to the top of your research before your trip. They will save you tours in neighborhoods that look promising from a distance and don't fit when you're standing in them. And real quickly, if you are considering moving to Fort Lauderdale, I've put together a great resource for you. It's called the Fort Lauderdale Homebuyer Guide. Inside, you're going to find information on every neighborhood, every price point, what to buy, what to consider, and how to move here without second guessing yourself. It's a great starting point and it's completely free. You can download it using the link in the description. The scouting trip is where the remote research becomes real. And the ones who get the most out of their time here in Fort Lauderdale structure it intentionally instead of just considering it as one property tour. 2 days minimum, 3 days ideal. 1 day is not enough to develop the market feel that lets you recognize value when you see it. Buyers who do a single day tour and try to make an offer from it are almost always operating on incomplete context. 3 days gives you enough time to tour properties, revisit the neighborhoods that resonated, eat at restaurants you'd actually frequent, drive the routes you'd actually drive, and sit with the information before you make any decisions. Structure your days by neighborhood rather than by property. Day 1 in Las Olas Isles and Rio Vista, understanding the canal system, the proximity to Las Olas Boulevard, the scale of the homes at your price point. Day 2 in whichever alternative neighborhood has risen to the top of your list. For instance, Harbor Beach if privacy and private beach are primary values. Coral Ridge if waterfront value is the driver, or the western suburbs if schools are the priority. Day 3 for revisiting, for the neighborhoods you didn't get enough time in, and for the meals and the walks that give you the feel of daily life rather than the feel of a property search. Property tours during the scouting trip should be pre-selected by you and your agent based on the research and conversations you've had before arriving, not assembled from Zillow searches the day before the trip. An agent who knows your criteria should be showing you properties that genuinely match them, not filling a schedule. The goal of the tour is not to see as many properties as possible. It's to see the right properties, fewer. Better tours produce better decisions than a rushed marathon of showings. Use the scouting trip to test the life, not just the properties. Have the Thursday evening dinner on Las Olas. Drive I-95 to the airport at 8 a.m. Walk to the beach from the neighborhood that's highest on your list. Take the water taxi on the New River. The information you gather by living in the city for 2 or 3 days is different in kind from the information you gather by looking at homes. And both types of information are necessary before you make a decision this significant. Once you've found the property and made the decision, here's how the offer and contract process works in a luxury transaction, and where it differs from what out-of-state buyers are accustomed to. Florida is not technically an attorney closing state, but in practice, especially in luxury and condominium transactions, retaining your own real estate attorney is something buyers should consider. A Fort Lauderdale luxury purchase can involve complex contracts, condominium financial disclosures, reserve requirements, and evolving post-Surfside legislation that may materially affect ownership costs and future assessments. This is separate from the title company or closing agent handling the transaction. Your attorney represents your interests exclusively, reviewing the contract before you sign, advising on the contingency language, analyzing condominium documents, and helping manage the legal aspects of your purchase. Ideally, an attorney should be encouraged before submitting an offer rather than after the contract has already been executed. The Florida as-is contract is the standard in this market. As-is does not mean you cannot inspect. It means that the seller is not contractually obligated to make repairs based on the inspection findings. What as as is does is shift the negotiating dynamic around inspection items. Rather than presenting a repair list, buyers use the inspection period to evaluate the property fully and either proceed, renegotiate the price based on what the inspections revealed, or exit the contract within the inspection period. Understanding this distinction before you make an offer prevents the misunderstanding that trips up out-of-state buyers who are accustomed to inspection contingent repair negotiation from their home markets. The inspection period in a Florida luxury contract is typically 10 to 15 days. For an out-of-state buyer who can't be present for the inspections in person, this requires coordinating licensed inspectors, general home inspection, seawall inspection for waterfront properties, roof inspection, 4-point inspection for insurance purposes from your home market before the contract is signed. Your agent should have a list of qualified inspectors they can refer you to, but the decision on who to hire for inspections is yours and should not be delegated entirely to the agent. In Fort Lauderdale's luxury market, the earnest money deposit is often approximately 10% of the purchase price and is typically held in escrow by the title company or closing agent. In most transactions, the deposit remains fully refundable during the buyer's contingency periods, including the inspection period and any financing or condominium review contingencies outlined in the contract. Once those contingency periods expire, the escrow deposit may be at risk if the buyer defaults. Understanding exactly when those deadlines occur and what rights you retain before they expire is one of the most important parts of navigating a luxury real estate transaction in Florida. The closing time frame from accepted offer to close is 30 to 45 days for cash buyers and 45 to 60 days for financed buyers in most Fort Lauderdale luxury transactions. Remote closings are standard. You don't need to be physically present in Fort Lauderdale to close a Florida real estate transaction. Documents can be signed remotely through your attorney and funds can be wired. Many out-of-state buyers close their Fort Lauderdale purchase without returning to the city before the scouting trip and moving day. So let me close out with the 3 mistakes that I see out-of-state buyers do the most. The first is visiting without a financing plan in place. In the neighborhoods and price ranges that serious buyers are targeting in Fort Lauderdale's luxury market, the best product does not wait for financing to be organized. Buyers who find the right property and then begin the jumbo loan pre-approval process lose deals to buyers who arrived prepared. Organize your financing before your first tour. The second is making an offer from photographs without having been in the property and the neighborhood. Remote offers happen in this market, but they happen reasonably when the buyer has invested significant research time, has received detailed video walkthrough documentation from their agent, and has a clear and specific understanding of what they're buying and why the price is right. A remote offer made because a property looks compelling in listing photos without the neighborhood context and the agent intelligence to support it is a gamble. The Fort Lauderdale luxury market has enough variation at the property level. Canal depth, seawall condition, renovation quality, dock capability. Offer decisions made without adequate information can produce regret. The third is skipping the cost of ownership homework before falling in love with a specific property. Insurance quotes, flood zone verification, HOA documents if it's a condo or homeowners association, property tax estimates based on the anticipated assessed value after sale rather than the current owner's bill. All of this needs to happen before you're emotionally committed to a purchase. The carrying cost of a Fort Lauderdale luxury home can vary by thousands of dollars per month between 2 properties at the same purchase price depending on these factors. Discovering the variation after closing is a significantly worse experience than discovering it during due diligence. And that takes us to the end of this video. And if you need help relocating from out of state here to Fort Lauderdale, all of my contact details are below.